All right, guys, welcome back into another props video. Give me a touch on the top prop bets that we have available today in the NBA. Let's go ahead and get into it. So yesterday with the bet of the day, it ended up going 3 for 6 on the day. That being said, you look at this DeAndre Ayton one. I was very vocal, and I kind of mentioned a bunch that I would be running out a stack with him doing the opposite in a game stack with Portland and Milwaukee, because I felt like Milwaukee, regardless of if Giannis sat or not, the props that we were getting for them had a good chance to hit against Portland, especially with Malcolm Brogdon being active, just because I thought that would help the game stay close enough for long enough. And so hopefully you guys were able to take advantage of that and use that slip. That ended up kind of saving my night, that Milwaukee-Portland stack. And that's why I like to go through the process of each slate. So let's go ahead and do that for today's video. All right, so my biggest concern with kind of the opening part of this slate is going to be Portland versus Indy, just simply because I could see Portland sitting Malcolm Brogdon, and if he does sit, that creates a whole nother aspect of whether or not we would want to be going in on the Portland Trailblazers props or not. Right now, it's about a 13-point spread and about a 240 for the over and under. So this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think we can all bank on that. Right now, they are currently only ruling out Simons, really. And then you got Aaron Naismith for the Pacers. Now, to me, I could see them potentially sending Malcolm Brogdon. He ended up getting about 34 minutes in that last game, which is the most that he's played since he's come back from injury. You know, the previous two games, 25 and 24. And my concern is that obviously the Celtics were very much concerned about his injury history. They very much limited his minutes last year. Then we saw him come to Portland and just play a bunch of heavy minutes, and really heavy minutes in a short period of time. And then he ends up getting injured. Now, he had played on the back end of back-to-backs before. We have seen that. But my concern is that I feel like it's very logical that he could end up sitting. And this is one of the rare situations where I would say that the whole Portland team actually becomes more difficult to predict with Brogdon out, because I think he just helps the minutes for everyone. Him being on the court helps the game stay close enough for long enough. So that 13-point spread, probably correct. Like, I don't like to bet against Vegas, but all in all, I could see them maybe keeping it relatively close up until the final rotations come. And against Milwaukee, they were kind of blowing them out for a while, and they ended up losing that game by 6 there. So that's kind of the ideal situation, is them keeping the game close enough for long enough. And right now, we're not getting any fantasy score props for this team. Again, this could be a source of profitability for us. I kind of mentioned that I think with Portland, they're always going to be projected to get blown out, it seems like. And I might just kind of blindly bet them all for the overs or blindly bet them all for the unders, because when they keep the games close, the props that we're typically getting on them, they're not being properly valued. Now, we can see in this game that a lot of the props that we are getting, we are seeing the unders favored. So Sharp for under points, 17.5. Sharp for under assists at 3.5. Those both had about a 53% chance to hit. And he is someone that literally, he's been the one player where we haven't been worrying about the minutes too much. And so I might actually like his points, but all in all, I probably would agree if this game does end up being a blowout and he only gets about 30 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be tough to see him getting over the assist. It's going to be tough to see him getting those 14 and a half points. That being said, the game stays close. I kind of imagine him getting that over. Malcolm Brogdon for under 14.5 for rebounds is set about 53% chance to hit. Aiden for under rebounds, about a 53% chance to hit. And again, we don't really want to be chasing those. We want to be chasing ones that have about a 54% chance to hit. So none of these are seemingly going to be profits that we really want to be going in on too much. And so like the Aiden points, rebounds, and assist prop to me kind of feels too thin tonight on the back end of back-to-back as well. That is a little bit of a concern to me. Jeremy Grant, very much scoring dependent. If he's not having a good day scoring, he's not going to be able to get his over points, rebounds, and assists. Then Malcolm Brogdon, like I probably would be okay betting the over for this game, assuming that he's active. And if he's inactive, it's just going to be in DMP. Probably a little bit too thin. The data doesn't like this too much, but I'm more or less betting on those minutes being there for him. And the data would actually be suggesting the under there. I'm saying I don't agree with that. I'm saying that the market's been slow to adjust for Malcolm Brogdon getting minutes, but that's really the bet here. And it could be a concerning point there that maybe only gets 30 minutes in this game and he doesn't get that over. That being said, we have seen him consistently really crush this over when he was getting those minutes. So Indy is a kind of high pace up spot. It's going to be a high scoring spot. I'm perfectly fine betting using that bet, but I think, again, it's going to be a better bet on one of the sports. So let's go ahead and move on into the Pacers. So again, for Indy, we're not seeing anyone's listed as out. So the prop bets that we're going to get are probably going to stay about the same. Right now, Halliburton for under 41.5 points, rebounds, and assists, the one that's popping up. Again, that's kind of a concern to me given the matchup. If this game stays close enough, again, I think if Malcolm Brogdon's active, if it stays close enough for long enough, I would probably be favoring the over here. This is more a bet on the minutes not being there for Halliburton. Now, I want to take a peek at his game log. Has it actually been a thing? They got blown out in this game. He only played 25 minutes. They did the blowing out there, only 32, but he is productive there. I guess he didn't get the over in that one. So yeah, if his minutes are potentially limited from this game being a blowout, I guess we could see that. The under being favorited there. If you round up, about a 54% chance for that to hit, but not the best one. And then from there, all the other ones that we were getting are kind of thin. I could see Miles Turner potentially having a very good game. We have already seen that they bumped the rebounds and assists to 9 from 8.5. That would have been one that I would have really liked. And that's just because of the matchup with Portland. He should be able to have a good game. And guys, real quickly, I realized I wasn't really responding to any of the comments yesterday. I always try to respond to the comments in the YouTube chat. I appreciate all the comments and stuff. That does help out the channel. Yesterday, I just got home from, Thanksgiving activities throughout the weekend. Wanted to get some content out to you guys. Then I was just setting up, some Christmas decorations. It ended up being that type of day in my household. So apologies for that. I'll be better about it today. Just wanted to kind of let you guys know I wasn't ghosting you. I was busy, pretty busy yesterday. We're looking at the next game that we have. We have the Wizards versus the Pistons. This is seemingly going to be a good game. Hopefully we have some bets that are going to correlate in terms of like a stack, because it's projected to be close at a 2.5 for the over and under. Then we look, for the spread. And then we look at the over and under 235.9. So about 236. Now we look at the injuries. Nothing too impacting really for the Pistons right now. Jalen Duren's healthy, and all the other bigs, Bagley and Stewart, are healthy. I actually think Duren could be in for a good game. The biggest piece of news that we need is Jordan Poole. He is currently a game time decision. And so if he were to sit, I think that would open up obviously a lot of usage, and that's something we can prepare for. So with Jordan Poole off the court thus far this season, the player that's got the most minutes is the rookie right here, where he's getting about 13.6 points per 36, 4.9 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and averaging about a block and a steal per 36. The usage rate's pretty low with him though, but he does average about 30 fantasy points per 36 as well. Again, that's probably due to his blocks and steal. Potentially someone we could be looking at if Poole sits. Kispert is next on the list for players that get minutes with him off the court. Again, these are two players that both make for natural adjustments with him off the court. Kispert averages 18 points per 36, 3.5 rebounds, 2.6 assists. So really the appeal with Kispert is the shot attempts. He'd be getting around 13 shot attempts, which is what he had basically in the last game. Now shot the ball terribly, 1 for 10 from 3. You wouldn't expect that again. I actually wouldn't mind him for over points if we're getting one, potentially at his average if Poole's out. Kyle Kuzma definitely soaks up the most usage with Jordan Poole off the court. It goes up 3.4% to about 33.7%. Kyle Kuzma's usage with Poole off the court. Averages about 50 fantasy points per 36 with Kyle Kuzma off the court as well. So clearly he's the guy that should really benefit, especially in terms of fantasy points. His per 36 production with Poole off the court is 23.5 shot attempts per game, which leads to his scoring going up by 8. So he averages about 30.1 points per 36, 8.1 rebounds, and 7.7 assists. So seemingly he's going to be someone we probably will be looking at. We'll see. And I'll just pull that up right now. We'll see if the market has adjusted for that just yet. This is where, if we are getting prop bets for Kuzma, we could potentially gain an edge by betting on Kuzma. And so at 40, this could actually be too low. Again, I freaking hate that the data is telling us to bet the under. It's just been so annoying lately that the prop bets that I like the most are the ones in which the data is not agreeing with. It's just been tilting. Maybe you could do rebounds on underdog. That's seemingly no, it's about a 50-50 split there. This is kind of strange that we're actually getting the line at 6 for PrizePicks. We probably want to be betting the under there, but again, his per 36 production would suggest it's probably going to get 8 rebounds. So all in all, probably just to stay away there. Let me see his points, rebounds, and assists. So again, this season with Jordan Poole off the court, and we're not getting any Jordan Poole props just yet. That might suggest that they think Poole could sit. Kyle Kuzma averages 30 points per 36 with him off the court, then tack on 8 rebounds. He's already at the over, then tack on 7.7 more assists. He's already there as well. So crazy low line that we're getting there for Kuzma. Now the concern I think people would have is that literally we just saw this in the last game without Poole, only 12 points there. And that's probably what it's rooted in. He had 5 turnovers in that game. That game was a blowout. This game is projected to stay close. So as long as Vegas is right about the projection of the game, this one should hit. And so this is one that I'm writing down. I don't know if I want to do fantasy score. I don't know if I want to do points, rebounds, and assists. I actually might want to do points, rebounds, and assists because he does average about 3.2 turnovers with Kyle Kuzma or with Jordan Poole off the court and doesn't really get a block and a steal. So probably points, rebounds, and assists. And then from there, not a massive bump really for anyone. And so we look at the other props that we're getting here for Washington. We are seeing Gafford for under fantasy scores, one that's being favored. It's kind of crazy. It seems like on every single slate really thus far this season with Gafford, we're either getting a heavy line for his under or a heavy line for his over. There seems to be a lack of consistency there. And I think this is definitely rooted in projecting his minutes. It's super difficult to project how many minutes he's going to get. And so on a per night basis, we are seemingly gaining a huge edge. So right now he's only projected to get 23 minutes. If that occurs, yeah, he's not going to get his over. And so we look at it, he is someone that you really can't trust to get minutes. Now, when games do stay close, he is getting the minutes and he's getting the over. And maybe that's partially why games are staying close, is when he's having a good game and he's getting the minutes, then the game's staying close. And it's like directly correlated there. The amount of minutes he gets dictates whether or not he's going to get his over. And so like this is where I actually don't mind a game stack. Kyle Kuzma over points, rebounds, and assists. Gafford for over fantasy score. Then you could take it even a step further and also go with Tyus Jones for over his fantasy score. Don't exactly love that one. I feel like this is a little bit increased due to like an assumed increase in production with Poole off the court. He only gets about a 3-point bump in his fantasy score per 36 with Jordan Poole off the court. And so to me, it kind of seems like we're just getting that line because of an assumed bump in his production. Now, this is a good matchup, and you would expect him to have a good game in this matchup. But all in all, I feel like that's just like too thin. I think I'd rather go with the points or go with the assist prop, probably assist prop for the over. And so his assists are at 6. That's bumped up from 5.5. This is being valued as a push. So yeah, probably just too thin for us to go in on. Again, if we get maybe a Corey Kispert points prop, if it's at like 9.5, I'd probably be wanting to bet the over. So from there, let's go ahead and move on into Detroit. I was hoping that Caden Cunningham for over fantasy score is going to be one that's popping because I feel like this is just a smash spot for him. And right now we can see not exactly the case, about a 50% likelihood for that to hit. And this is where, again, like if I'm running out a game stack, we're betting on the game staying close, I could see him having a massive game. This just screams a good matchup for him. Like it against Indy, it was a very similar situation, I would say. A good matchup. That game ended up being a blowout and he still got his minutes. And so that's something that I think we can bank on as well. 26 shot attempts in that game. Like again, this is a similar matchup, I would say, between the two. Like Washington going to be a team that we're targeting a bunch this season. Portland, a very similar matchup as well, had himself a very good game in that matchup as well. And so that to me is where I think I might just maybe say, all right, I like the fact that we have that data. We know the assumed risk now with that. Again, I would love for this number, again, to be probably saying bet the over. Like we're good with it. Again, I hate the fact that it's saying bet the under. That's not a good thing. That's not going to lead to long-term profit. But again, I think we do have a good game stacking opportunity here. And I do want to call it, we're not getting any Jalen Duren props just yet. He is someone that I think will be able to feast. Gets an awesome matchup going against Daniel Gafford. He is coming in off of a very good game. And so that does cause some concern for me because the lines could be bumped up a little bit too. But I think he's going to be in for a massive game. Let's see what his averages are because I probably would want to favor the overs a little bit more. So 12.7 points, about 11 rebounds. So what is that? 23, 24 points, rebounds, tack on. It's probably going to be at like 26 points, rebounds, and assists. If it's lower than that, I'm probably going to bet the over. He is someone that can get some blocks and steals as well. So if his fantasy score is at, I don't know, even like 32, I probably would be fine betting the over in this matchup. Again, I think we're going to have a stacking opportunity here. We're just not exactly seeing it on the board. Now, one interesting one is that we're seeing Thompson for under 12.5 points being one of the best EV bets that we currently have on this slate. On the season, that's what he averages. So at 11.1 points, that is seemingly too low. Now, they're probably accounting for the matchup again. It's a good matchup. But what they're not accounting for is his production with Jalen Duren on the court. With Jalen Duren on the court, Thompson actually averages this exact number, 11.1, which is pretty crazy, per 36. And so again, like we're looking at his game log, he really hasn't had those minutes there as much lately. Now those games have been kind of blowouts, except for this one against Denver where we got into foul trouble. But all in all, I would say that probably is a good bet. We have seen that Duren being on the court does hurt his production, and vice versa. When Jalen Duren's off the court, Thompson is someone that was highly consistent as a fantasy producer. So that's one I can get behind for betting the under. So like real quickly, here's a partial game stack you could run out there. Again, I probably want to wait to see if we get a good Jalen Duren fantasy score prop or even potentially a Corey Kispert points prop. I think that could be fruitful, assuming that Poole sits out. That's really what I'm betting on. And just for what's worth, like I do think Isaiah Stewart could be in line for a good game. Like this is a good matchup going against Washington. It wouldn't be shocking to see him have a good game. Him and Duren can coexist together. And this is just a very low number for him. To me, though, that feels like we're probably going one step too far. So now let's go ahead and get into the next game. We got the Lakers versus the Sixers. About a 6-point spread, about a 230 for the over and under. And I know I spent a lot of time on the last game. It just felt like a spot where we probably want to attack. Looking at the Sixers, Kelly Oubre still out. That's the biggest news that we have there. And I do want to start with Melton's minutes, and I'll get into that in just a second. Hachimura is out, and so that could actually shift minutes to Christian Wood potentially, or Jackson Hayes. Cam Reddish, game time decision. If he's out, that could also shift some minutes, maybe to Taurean Prince. I'm assuming that both AD and LeBron are going to play. We see this every single slate. It's not really worth mentioning until we get more differences in the news. So yes, looking at Melton, he had been a source of frustration for his minutes because he wasn't getting the final minutes with Kelly Oubre off the court. And I think we are seeing that again. 30 minutes in the last 2 games. We want him to be in 35 minutes. So that's a cause for concern. And so I haven't looked at the props that we're getting yet for Philly. If we're getting some overs for him, that could be something that I don't want to go in on. But if we're getting unders, I'm going to be okay with that. And so right now, we're seeing rebounds at 4, potentially for the over. But this is one where like we're seeing the under at 4.5 and underdog. I feel pretty good about that, guys. I want to be betting the under there and underdog. I feel like that is a good prop bet. Not only is it a good EV bet, but rooted in the fact that they probably think he's going to get a little bit more minutes. So I don't mind that one. Again, the under is the average of a 54% likelihood at 4.5. With PrizePicks adjusting it down, it slightly does favor the over, but not much. That's a good EV bet on underdog. And then from there, just looking at the other prop bets that we are getting in this game, all in all, probably a little bit too thin for me to really trust. Maybe like Batum for over 0.5 turnovers or like threes made. He's fascinating because they haven't given him more run lately. Like 32 minutes, that's pretty crazy. But he has been getting a lot of turnovers lately because of that. And so assuming that he still gets the minutes, I think we could see him still get some more turnovers. Like with Kelly Oubre out, he has just been having a decent amount of usage, which is a little bit shocking. All in all, though, feels a little bit too risky. Let's take a peek at the Lakers. Yeah, Lakers-wise, we're just not getting that many good ones. We are seeing Anthony Davis slightly favored for the under fantasy score. I'm probably not touching that at all. Maybe Russell for points, rebounds, and assists does feel a little bit too thin, about a 53% likely to hit. Maybe Prince, if Reddish sits, then we could probably be favoring the over there for his points and rebounds. But all in all, as it sits right now, these feel a little bit too thin. I do think maybe Wood or Hayes will have a good game with Hachimura out, assuming they get a slight bump in their minutes. So we got 2 more games left. We got the Pelicans versus the Jazz, about a 5-point spread, and then about a 230 for the over and under. Looking at it, Lauri Markkanen and also Jordan Clarkson, both game time decisions. Looking at the Pelicans, they're going to get Zion back in this game. McCollum is still out. And so I'm not sure if we're going to get a lot of props for this game. We'll start with the Pels. And yeah, we're not going to get any Utah props. Utah is extremely confusing right now. We saw them really just spread out their minutes last game with with Markkanen and also Jordan Clarkson off the court. If they both play, I think this game could be appealing in terms of game stacking. If they both sit, DFS wise, I assume that like John Collins would have a good game. I assume that Keontae George would have a good game. And they end up just starting a bunch of guys that have been backups for them, and then they just spread out the minutes. And so it's kind of ugly. And it's the exact same game. So definitely a wait and see there. But looking at the profits that we're getting for the Pelicans, we are seeing Herbert Jones and also J-Val for under fantasy score. Let's talk about the reasons as to why there. So I'm going to assume that's simply because Zion is expected back in this game. Now, I thought J-Val would get a lot of run in the last game. He did not. That was a very much a shock to me against Utah. Utah was doing some strange things, though. That being said, it's tough for me to trust that the minutes are going to be there again for J-Val tonight with Zion back. And so he is someone that could easily get the over in like 16 minutes of run. So it is like don't be shocked if he gets the over, but all in all, I probably am favoring the under there. And then Herbert Jones, for the most part, he probably more times than not is going to get the under here. And so this does seem to be like a very good spot for us to be favoring the under for Herbert Jones. And I think that's just simply rooted in the fact that Zion and also Ingram are going to be back. Now, the matchup's a seemingly easier matchup, and that's a cause for concern. Then from there, not too much that we are getting. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, which will be the last game on the slate. We got the Nuggets versus the Clippers. 220.5 for the over and under, and about a 6-point spread or so. Looking at the injuries, nothing too concerning for the Clippers. Looking at the Nuggets, Aaron Gordon is a game time decision. And so I do want to take a peek at the per 36 production with him off the court. So he sat out on Sunday's game, and then we saw Michael Porter Jr. get about 33 minutes in that game. So really, to me, that wasn't a big bump for him. It actually might be Peyton Watson getting the biggest bump in minutes. We saw him get to 22 last game, and kind of the data would suggest it's either going to be Christian Braun, just getting more minutes at the 3 and having Porter shift up to the 4, and that does make sense. Or it's going to be Watson. They obviously went with Watson last game. That could just be a matchup thing. The minutes that I'm looking at here with Aaron Gordon off the court would suggest both of them could get it. And then from there, I don't really love the sample size from there because it seems like when Aaron Gordon's been off the court, he's been someone that's been getting heavy minutes. Obviously, when he's been off the court, we're just seeing a lot more backup backups in there, and that to me just suggests blowout run. So I don't know if we have that much actionable information from that. Now, Jokic has actually gotten a usage bump with Gordon off the court, so there could be something there. But all in all, not something I want to go crazy with. So let's go ahead and take a peek at the best bets that we're getting right now on Underdog. And we are getting some pretty good lines, I would say. So like Melton, I'm fine with under 4.5 rebounds. Then we are seeing Tyus Jones for over 11.5 points. Like I don't think he's going to get that big of a bump, but it is a good matchup. And we are seeing that that's a slight edge that we are getting. Could do Thompson for under 12.5 points. That's seemingly going to be a good edge as well across the board. But in terms of like two significant edges that we're getting on PrizePicks and the sportsbooks, Melton under 4.5 rebounds and Tyus Jones for over 11.5 points. And then because I like to do 3 slip bets on Underdog, I'm perfectly fine writing out the rebounds and assists for J-Val there, where we're seeing Underdog bumped it to 11 simply because it's about a 54% likelihood to hit. And that's something that's always going to happen. Typically, we're going to see them bump. Underdog's just a little bit slower. And so to me, this is probably my favorite bet on Underdog right now, basketball-wise. Perfectly fine using that. Again, if you guys do use that slip and you guys haven't signed up for Underdog just yet, I'm not telling you guys to go like create an Underdog account. If you find that those are edges, if you guys think that those are edges and you want to take advantage of that bet, just use the promo code 905 when you guys first sign up. If not, that's fine. I'm not trying to tell people to make bets just to make bets. But I am going to go ahead and refresh the data on my end and then give you guys a bet of the day for PrizePicks as well. And we did get some more fantasy score props. I don't really like this one for Michael Porter Jr. Full disclosure, this is one that I kind of blindly trusted on the last slate. And if Aaron Gordon's out, I don't know, I have a tough time getting there. Like his production doesn't change too much. I think it solidifies his averages. I think he's going to be more likely to get to those. So all in all, I probably would want to stay with that one. Zubac, I'm actually fine betting the over there. That is seemingly too low of a line. Gafford, I already mentioned, that is very much minutes dependent there. And then other ones that we're getting. Oh, and I hate to do it, guys, but the Tyus Jones prop, I just refreshed the data on my end as well. The Tyus Jones prop actually just adjusted for the points. Basically a push now. And so that makes sense. PrizePicks just dropped theirs down. And again, lines are updating throughout the day. So for that Underdog slip that I called out earlier, this is no longer an edge. That is something that's just going to happen throughout the day. Okay, that we consistently see that happen. And so right now, it's actually pretty crazy the amount of underbets that we are seeing favored here. Okay, starting off with 3 for fantasy score. I would say these two, somewhat a little bit of correlation there. I'm fine with that. Miles Turner, I'm actually kind of fine with as well. Although I do think he could be in for a massive game against Portland. That's a little bit of a cause for concern. Isaiah Stewart under 7.5 rebounds. Again, with Jalen Duren there, I could see that happening. Malcolm Brogdon under 19.5 points. I really don't like that the projection data is actually agreeing with that, though. The NBA has been weird, and it is just a lot of shuffling of the pieces, all players being in and out, and it's always like a minutes projection. That's the difficult part. So right now on PrizePicks, we are actually seemingly getting an okay edge for assists at 5.5. Underdog has bumped to 6, so an okay edge there. It's just weird how much this shifts throughout the day. And it's annoying, like I blindly want to just bet these 3 all for under, assuming that the day is going to be correct, as well as probably Miles Turner. Don't exactly love that. Like if I were just targeting my 3 personal favorite bets, I would say these 3. I think Cade Cunningham's going to have a good game. I think if Jordan Poole's out, again, that's what we're banking on here. I would say Kyle Kuzma's line's massively too low. And I think we have a stacking opportunity with Portland versus Indy, and Malcolm Brogdon would be the reason as to why we would want to be betting the over there. And so real quickly, let's just go over that Portland Indy game just real quick, talking about some stacks that we have, and then I'll begin you guys the bet of the day. So looking at right now, I think Bruce Brown's a little bit too thin. Aiden, I think I would be fine with betting the over there. Again, the back-to-back, the minutes for that is concerning. Buddy Hield, yeah, I'm fine betting the under there. He's been way too streaky. Typically speaking, he's getting the under. Grant for the over. This is a good matchup. You would expect him to be able to get the over there. Continuing on, Halliburton, maybe a little bit too high. I don't know if I want to touch that, but Malcolm Brogdon, I think we're going to see him consistently get this over, assuming that the minutes don't change tonight. That is going to be the bet. Miles Turner, maybe a little bit too thin. He's been right there. This is a good matchup. I don't know if I want to touch that. Sharp, I don't know if I want to touch as well. And really, for me, it's probably just Brogdon there, maybe Grant or now, which is kind of ugly. And for what it's worth, I want to call these as well. Like, I don't mind the lines that we were getting on Terrence Mann, and then also Zubac. If Zubac stays out of foul trouble against Jokic, he should be able to crush that over. The official bet of the day, I guess, I think these are the 2 best ones. Again, I don't know. We're betting on Jordan Poole being out. It's a concern, but I do think there's an edge there. Obviously, if he's active, then this line becomes pretty thin, and it's a risk-reward thing. And another risk-reward thing is Malcolm Brogdon for over 37 for a fantasy score. I think if we knew for sure that he was going to get 32 minutes, again, if this wasn't a back end of a back-to-back or just a back-to-back and the minutes weren't a concern, we'd be hammering this over in this this matchup. That is NBA betting. It really is. And if you guys are listening to this and you're thinking, I think Jordan Poole's going to play, don't bet Kyle Kuzma. Or you're thinking, I think it's logical that Malcolm Brogdon does get his minutes limited, then by all means, don't touch that one. Okay, that's NBA props betting. And I'm not the biggest fan of this one right now, but these are the 4 best prop bets that we have available on the board. Again, this is being pulled in off of the average sportsbook lines expectations for the players in terms of points, rebounds, assists, turnovers, and then blocks and steals as well. These are the 4 best bets. These are being overvalued as when we compare it to how the average sportsbook line is valuing them. I don't love them. I really don't. But again, I just want to show you guys that because that is what the data is telling us. But that's going to be all for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to give a like and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell. I do appreciate that. If you guys want access to this tool, it is available at 9to5sports.com for just $10 a month. Thank you guys for watching. Let's have a good slate. And as always, let's keep cashing.